Hello, welcome back, everyone. Ashala and Sue Grokmo here with you, bringing you our live Q&A. And I would really love to get some audience participation today. So, hello, Ricky. Hello, Garden Ho. Lovely to see you again. Do either of you have a question to start us off for this week? Any questions? And maybe while we're waiting to hear from them, Sue, do you have a question? Is there
Well,
something coming through for you right now?
yeah, there's been a couple of things. And then the last time I had said, posed a question, we ran out of time. So we were talking about the portals, like the
Okay.
earth portals, earth energy. I understand, it came through a past life regression that someone said there's portals in Bankhead, which is in Banff. And it's a ghost town now. So they had a
Okay.
thriving coal mining town. And then within like 15 years, they're like, that's it. And it was shut down. I mean,
Mm.
all the legends that come out of Lake Minnewanka and Banff and all of that, and the energies and the legend of the
Mhm.
merman. Also, there's really fascinating energies there.
Quite fascinating because I don't know, Sue knows, maybe many of you don't know, but I just traveled through the Rocky Mountains this past weekend. I just got back last night. And so there was really this energy. I mean, I've obviously traveled through the Rockies. I live close to them. I've traveled through them many, many times over the years, but I really felt this energy, this trip in particular, around the actual mineral quality of those lands. And, you know, there's so many legends in different Native American stories around beings from other dimensions that were visitors here, and then they got literally sort of turned into stone. And in a lot of cases, sometimes it was a punishment, but oftentimes it was so that they could reside here during this next epoch. And
Fascinating.
so it's fascinating, you know, they have like a very strong quality and almost like a soul or a spirit that resides in some of those, well, maybe even in all of the mountain areas. So my daughter and I, when we were driving, we were talking about that, funny enough. And it was through an area not very far from the area that you're describing. So
Yeah.
let's
And,
have a
and
look.
incidentally, it's Canada's first national park, right? And so, what is it about national parks and the energies in national parks? Obelisks
Mhm.
are in national parks. There's stories of all kinds
Okay.
of things happening in terms of
Well, you know, and it's interesting because when we've got us sort of in a way, this very lovely, innocent card, Three of Cups. Um, it's like, in a way, we want connection. The Three of Cups is about emotional connection. And it's like we're, in a way, opening our arms and saying we want to connect with the spirits of the lands where we live, especially obviously the positive energies that are here to assist humanity. And it does feel like even when we get things like earthquakes, earth tremors, and also volcanic activity, even though it creates a lot of destruction, it's almost like it signifies a time of great change for humanity. And it's like these beings are waking up, and we have the opportunity to connect with them in a meaningful way at these very powerful portal times. So, what they're showing me so far is that portals are not just places, they're also times. Interesting.
right, right, like astrological times.
Yes. Yes. So it's like there's a location, but there's also a quality of time.
Well,
Time is
we're in a time where the whole Earth is ascending for the first time ever. So,
so
yeah.
this, you know, we've been mining. Look at this. Do you see the character? He's got his hammer. He's the pentacles are the sign in the tarot. There's four suits. They're the suit of earth, minerals, money, which was originally made out of metals, precious minerals, precious stones, all
Yeah.
of that. And we have mined. these locations, why is it that we're so attracted to these elements, these mineral elements? And we understand that they have spirit, they have energy, they have a quality to them. So let's see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is like, we often see these activations of volcanic and earthquake activity as frightening, like, oh no, Earth is mad at us and all of this, the wrath is coming down.
Mm-hmm.
But it also feels like with this strength card in the middle, it's part of a very powerful transformation. And it's something we're being drawn into this connection with Earth. It's sort of like Earth is saying, listen, wake up. And in these portals, so you were asking about this particular town where the mining has happened. What I'm getting is that Earth was kind of going, no, we don't want this kind of relationship. Not that you're just taking this mineral and you don't realize the power of it. So it's like these cataclysmic events, in a way, are the energies of the mineral kingdom and the element of Earth speaking to us. And there were many many characters through history, through mythology, that had a strong relationship to these spirits that lived in the natural earth. And they could literally communicate with them. They could know when the spirits were going to create a big, activity, and they would get a forewarning so that they could get out of the way. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So look at this. We have three major arcana cards, which are the big, kind of like the big mysteries, the big stories. And we have Earth is definitely communicating with us. We're at one of these major portal time and space junctures where there's going to be a lot of revelations happening, the book of Revelations, right? And so in a way, we can go back to ancient mythologies and ancient stories to remember what happens at these junctures where there's a lot of Earth portal activity. Nothing here looks dark, manipulative. It all looks very strong, evolutionary, potentially empowering. Gosh, look at that. Sudden.
Major arcana, right?
Another one. The wheel of fortune.
Yeah.
Or the wheel of change. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is the 10 of Cups. So these cards are kind of like our advice. 2 10s. The wheel is number 10 in the major arcana. And then the 10 of Cups is sort of like happy ever after, over the rainbow. So whatever's going on in terms of these Earth activations, this portal energy, it's about enlightening us. It's about helping us evolve. It's not about frightening us and harming us. I mean, obviously, they're kind of the guides are kind of saying when Earth stretches and yawns and starts communicating, it's very dramatic, and people can get hurt. But it's very interesting because I'm being shown there's counterpoints happening right now on the planet. You see all those directions on that compass?
Yeah.
Like there's counterpoints around, say, for example, what's going on in the Middle East right now. It would be very interesting to see the relationship of the Rocky Mountains in Canada and the US to, like, if you were to go directly through the Earth, what would be on the other side of that? Because it feels like
we're seeing the contrast almost.
Yeah.
Wow.
It feels like we're you know, there's sort of like this energy, this really, I mean, it's biblical energy. It's energy that's been prophesied for millennia.
Mhm.
Um, and these huge timeline stories that are coming to completion. The tens are about something ending, the end of an era, right?
Wow.
Judgment is about the big wake up call to begin a new era.
Right. Like leaving the mining and the opportunism and the money and all of the dark, really, because if you're looking at a national park, you got to wonder what the interest was in the first place. I mean, you go there, the First Nations would lead, some rich white man into, some of the most pristine and beautiful, and like Lake Louise, for example, and then they're building, right? And then they're bringing people in and bringing money. And then there's the
Mhm,
concrete and then the interruption.
mhm,
I understand a
mhm.
lot of the First Nations, they didn't, like the Stoney Nakoda, which would have been displaced out of Banff, they actually didn't climb the mountains. They didn't want to interrupt the spirits in the mountains. And then
Oh
when
yeah.
they did, they'd say, I come in peace, I leave in peace. And
Oh,
yeah,
I mean,
didn't, right? Like, so the Sasquatch apparently is one of their legends. And they say the Sasquatch recognizes people who walk in with dark hearts, and those are the ones that go missing. So yeah, and then there it comes down through their prophecies and
mhm.
their legends that that's exactly what has happened. So
Traditional cultures all over the world have legends about their mountains, and the legends are often about, you know, I mean, people misinterpret it and they say, well, they're afraid of these spirits, and that's why they leave these offerings to try to, you know, like calm them down and like get in good favor with them. But really, it was more that they were like in awe and honor of them, and they were giving them gifts. So it when we transition from being like, oh, these indigenous people were so afraid and superstitious that they were always feeding the gods. I mean, I do know that that happened.
yeah.
Interestingly enough, that's a lot more of our European storyline than it is in other places.
Yes. And
Um,
you know what? I think too, what I found with spirits that were, I mean, I guess darker spirits or more troublesome spirits, some of them, they just want to be acknowledged that they're there, and nothing
mhm,
more. So it's like, I
mhm.
come in peace. I'm not here to fight or push back, and I honor the land. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
then
I
it's always said about these dark energies, which are really, you know, they're basically misaligned energies that feel they need to steal power in order, they need to consume and steal from others in order to sustain themselves. So they haven't evolved to a place where they're self-determining and they can like, um, yeah, they can nourish themselves basically, which is so interesting because isn't that where we're at right now as we evolve as individuals? We're like going, you know, are we still waiting for the state to fix everything? Are we still waiting for, you know, the gods to fix everything? We
yeah.
are so self-determinant. We could do so much about our circumstances. Why do we give our power away?
I let
So,
I look at it even in, in the micro, in like relationships where someone's narcissistic, or they're taking your energy. They're not tapping into the God source. So if you're tapping
mhm,
into your God source and then setting a boundary, it's like
mhm.
you need to learn to tap into your own, right? And biblically speaking, it would be, that's when we turn away from the creator. That's what it looks like. That's the example.
Mhm,
You're not
mhm.
self-sustaining. You're trying to feed off everybody else through their pain. So
That's right.
so interesting. I see so
Perfect,
much of that
perfect.
happen. Shall
Yeah.
everywhere I go, it's like I'm leaving. I got pushed out. I got discarded. I left. I finally, so everyone, working through their trauma bonds, or lots of
Mhm.
people, it's almost like the energies won't sustain that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and I just love what's coming through here in the cards that you know, we've got this idea that these portals, I mean, we are afraid in a way of the big effects of some of these land masses moving around and stuff like that, and rightfully so, right? I mean,
Yes,
in
yeah.
comparison to us, they're pretty massive. And yet, if you could see it as they're trying to activate something, they're trying to open something for us.
Hmm.
And I see Carmen has this question about a portal or Stargate under the Gaza Strip.
That's fascinating, right in line with what we're talking about. And I did see the other questions earlier.
Okay.
So, and so I'm holding on to them. I got you guys.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to that one because it feels like it really relates to what we were just talking about.
Totally. So if you go to these places, I'm guessing, like I feel the energy when I go there, and I always, I come in peace, I leave in peace, and yeah, and just feel the beautiful energy. It's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I understand with the Western religions, the three Western religions, that they all have their origin story and also their ending story located in that very powerful region. So it's kind of like their beginning and their end.
In the Gaza Strip.
Well, in Palestine, Israel, that region. Yeah.
And they did so when we've been watching kind of the truther movement over the years, they said it's going to start there and it's going to end there. Mm-hmm. That's what people were predicting. And
yeah. So well, I mean, that's all
of ending there now. And is that?
Yeah, that's all of their religious prophecies of the apocalypse and so on. It's always about, there's some sort of completion or tie up of their cycle, sort of like the Mayan long calendar count, right? So for them, this is the period where the return of whatever the Messiah or the completion, the return of their sacred objects and their people to this area.
Yeah.
And of
so
course,
what does it actually mean for us? What's going on there now? What is that?
Yeah. And of course, these three religions, they're all Abrahamic religions. So they're actually, their source is very common, similar. And let's see what is going on there in terms of particular portal or Stargate energy at this time and also throughout recent history. Okay, interesting. Look at that. 2 8s. Okay. 8 of Pentacles.
Yes.
8 of Swords. Now, 8 of Pentacles, we saw that card earlier. It is a productivity card. It's very earth-based. So I'm going to start by saying, never really seen this before, but I'm going to say there was some kind of very powerful mining that went on there around 8,000 years ago. So there was something being mined in that region. And similar to the story that you just were talking about in that area in Banff, in Canada, in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, it feels like there was something powerful going on there that was human-based, probably 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. And then, interesting that the spirits of that area, the mineral element there, said no more. And also, this became a very sought after portal. So let's see, was it hijacked? Was this portal hijacked? I mean, in a way, it's interesting, the question, Carmen, because what I'm being shown right now is there's just oodles and oodles of these portals all over Earth. I mean, it basically, when you think about ley lines, there's so many, there's thousands and thousands of them all over the Earth. Right. And then also when you think about mineral deposits, so when, you get like whatever, silver or gold veins of that, of crystals, of precious stones and minerals and so on, running through areas. And then when they get mined out, it's almost like it creates a bit of an energetic vortex. So we've got portals all over the place. And I feel like what's being shown here is there's something different about taking the minerals out and making beauty with them, making beautiful things with them, offering that, sharing that versus hoarding it and using it to dominate others. Nice. And so
that's the shift, right? That's the shift. What I keep on hearing is God will not be mocked.
Or marketed.
Right? Or marketed.
It's not for sale,
Nice.
Spirit is not for sale. And even the spirit of these beautiful, beautiful natural elements, like you can make, I mean, look at some of the things that humanity has made with gold and silver and precious gemstones. But if you use that to manipulate and dominate others, then
right,
it becomes
opportunism,
the dark.
which is what we're coming out of the Piscean age, right? The
Mhm.
materialism, the opportunism. Miss Fuji is saying, is Israel sitting on a crystal portal?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Gordon Ho saying 17 letters saving Israel for last. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm even getting further back, 9,000 years. So we're
Wow.
going into, let's, uh, interesting. Whatever this portal was, it was about communication.
What?
So I'm almost getting a feeling it's something like Silicon Valley or something. There's something
Oh.
there's something there. I'm wondering what the mineral was that they were mining, because it feels like it had to do with
The quartz.
intergalactic.
I wonder if it's the quartz in the computers.
Feels like it had to do with intergalactic. Well, and it's interesting because don't we have the Dead Sea near there and the saline water? So there's something about interdimensional and intergalactic messages. It was a portal, a hub for communication
The Dead
around what
Sea
was being
Scrolls.
mined there.
There's the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found there.
Yeah. So it's a communication portal, which let's see what we got next. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. So this is a great, this is a very positive card, and it's a very great card. Look at that. There's the water again. You see she
Yeah.
has her 1 foot on the water and 1 foot on the land, the Star Maiden. This is, to me, this would be a portal that got misused, shut down, but it's still there in potentiality, hence why it's so highly, desirable.
But
But
isn't
interesting what you just said, Sue, about, it would have to be a pure heart that could reactivate that.
yes, because
She
it
is,
recognizes that you can't run and you can't hide. I mean, if
yeah,
you're not in your integrity and align, that's also the Aquarian age, is it not? The star, it'd be like
yeah.
the Aquarian age.
Yes. So in a way, it's almost like Earth was kind of like starting to be mined and manipulated with all of these elemental energies. And it was kind of like, oh, boring. Shut
Yeah,
the door. No entry until
yeah,
you guys grow beyond that stuff, right? It's like,
right.
and it's like, oh, there's, Earth is going, oh, they're kind of getting to that point. Maybe open that portal a little bit and give them some support, invite the pure-hearted ones in. And when I say pure-hearted, what I mean is that, you're willing to, interesting, the number 17 card.
Right.
It is about being willing to be autonomous as a soul, to take responsibility for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to, apply yourself in. Yeah, it's very much a self-determining card, because it's the number 1, which is the ego, the personality, and the number 7, which is the spirit. So it is like spirit and ego blending in perfect harmony. And you put the 1 and the 7 together, you get an 8. So we've got the 8 of swords, the 8 of pentacles, and then the 17 in the potential future. And 8s are about creating cycles of repetition. So we're setting up a new cycle.
Moving
And
into your new earth, perhaps a little bit of an opening for us to move
there's
into this trajectory.
that Judgment card again, which is the big wake-up call, the turning point, the end of an era. It is the Judgment Day card as well. But again, I feel like if we just keep thinking about it as this big frightening event, we're missing the opportunity that we're being blessed. We're being blessed and welcomed. Yeah, look at this, in the Innocence card. So 6 of Cups. This is our advice. It's a bit like the meek shall inherit the earth. The 6 of Cups is the inner child, the innocence. And the judgment is, the big activation, the end of an era and the beginning of a new era. So
a return to innocence. It's
a
really
return
beautiful.
to innocence.
Yeah.
So yeah, the answer is yes, there's definitely a portal there, as there are in many other places. It's likely been shut down because there was an attempt to hijack it and to overmine it, to use it for manipulative reasons. And it is now being reactivated because there's enough pure-hearted energy to.
So is it pushing out? Is that why there's the conflict? It's pushing out what can't be sustained there anymore.
Well, yes. And, it's kind of like those old stories have a lot to do with, again, there's a sense of power broking, we're the ones. No, we're the ones. No, you don't belong here. We'll look after you, but we're actually the ones in charge. It's like,
Yep.
Okay.
Competition, dominance, the old world,
Definitely.
essentially. So Garden Ho says here, my mind is meshed with all the world events. Who knows what to believe? Any universal advice is always welcome. And there's people from Ireland and the Netherlands, Vancouver, all over. England. Super cool. Yeah, so is there just some universal advice?
Okay, let's start with universal advice around woohoo. Yeah, this is what to believe. And
yeah. I get it.
Got it. We all get it. We all get it.
Oh yeah. Rick agrees, saying hold love in your heart because love is the most powerful positive force in the universe and unconditional love to the worst people on the planet.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, this is an interesting message for all of us. Very interesting. Oh, there's the star again in the future. I shuffled you.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Aquarian age. Here we come.
Okay. So I think this is good news. I hope it is, because what they're saying is it's time. You'll notice there's not a lot. The swords in the past, that guy that has to get to the bottom. I got to find the truth. I got to understand the truth. So these two kings, the King of Cups was us, and the answer to the question, insight from the universe supporting us through this time, King of Pentacles. So we use our deep intuition, our hearts, our emotions, our feelings to navigate, and we literally bring into physical reality what we value and believe. So this would be like the proof is in the pudding. Put your money where your mouth is, but like invest in the things that you value. Focus on making material what you value in your heart. So it's sort of like the guides are saying, as these old systems crumble, there's going to be a big empty space, and nature does not like empty space. The universe will fill that with something. Everybody, this is a big message. The universe will fill the empty space with something. So as these old systems fall away, if we don't build something to put in its place, and I'm not just talking in our minds, castles in the sky, I'm talking about practical earth-based, like make it. So we're being invited to get out of our minds and into our hearts that will tell us where we need to invest ourselves in 3D to create the new. And it's not just an idea. It's like if we're being invited to literally manifest and materialize what we believe is valuable. So again, they're saying if we don't fill this with the new, it's interesting. I'm hearing hunger. And we are all looking at how we consume. literally food, resources, and I've suspected for a really long time that food is going to be the transitional bridge between the old paradigm, the old world, and the new world, and how we relate to literally where growing our food, consuming our food, distributing our food, what kind of food, our relationship to that, that's going to be a really big deal in this next, I'm hearing, 300 years. We're going to rebuild our communities around a new relationship to the most obvious thing that we consume is food.
Back to the land.
Back to the land.
Treated, and the soil, and how the soil is us. Very
So
connected to our food sources, and what we need is all around us. Wow.
So we're putting our minds together, Six of Swords, thinking, communicating, win-win. The sixes are about reciprocity, sharing, harmony, working together. This is the working together entrepreneur, build something new. So putting our minds together to build new systems. And, instead of looking at this like, oh yeah, okay, that's food, that gets a side category, like, when we get around to it, we'll figure out food. They're saying, why not make it the centerpiece? Because what has drawn humanity, if you think of what holds culture together, what holds family together, what holds, like, food is the thing that is common to all of us. It's the thing, it's sort of like the centerpiece that is the glue that holds our cultures together as well.
And it's biblical, right? Breaking bread together, how important that is in terms of connection,
Yeah, I just saw B said, I just felt hungry. I forgot to eat.
Speaking of food, yeah. Food has also been used to manipulate and to oppress in another way, right, for how long. So,
and I mean, hunger, like the hoarding and controlled distribution of food is what's been used to enslave humanity all the way along. I mean,
Haley, like when you look at the Daniel Quinn books, I don't know if you ever read those, Ishmael and I'm Ishmael.
Yes,
so
yes.
basically, it's basically the premise is like the only reason we have people, even the only reason we have mental illness or prisons or anything else is because they locked down the food. And when they locked down the food, then they had to police the food, then they had to punish for the food, then they had to. So completely controlled by food, we wouldn't have any of these issues if the food was for everybody, So how controlled we are by food. So that makes tons of sense. If we can turn that around. Yeah.
Well, and yet it's also the thing that binds us. It's a bonding thing. It's a beautiful thing. We come together around feasting, around sharing food, around celebrating through food, around cooking for each other and feeding each other. It's such a lovely way of, and we've lost connection, especially in the last 30 or 40 years. Many of us have lost connection with, we don't even know where food comes from. I talk about this on and on.
And our body being the temple and taking care of our temple, and then eating wild foods when you get into that, how our DNA recognizes it, and all of that. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it will be, what I'm being shown is that food will be the uniting piece that creates the new earth and is it's a revolution. And they're saying the word revolution means coming back around, revolving. Revolution.
Full circle to where we're sitting down with, for the land that the food comes from the connection, sitting down together and offering. Wow.
Actually, wars. We talk about wars in areas that are warring, and when you trace it back to origins of these raiding parties, most of the time it comes to a lack of soil that's agrable. Their lands are depleted. They have had natural disaster, and now their lands are going through drought or floods or whatever, and they can't produce their own food. And so where do they go if no one's going to like if we're not going to operate as a global community where we literally continue to resource and share, then there's going to be people that go without, and then that's going to create power imbalance. So it's a very simple place to start, is what they're saying, and it will quickly bring us back into a kind of universal harmony.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. I love it. It's good to know where to start, right? Because
Yeah.
Where do we
So I guess getting into the food revolution is the answer to getting out of the mind of like, where do we focus and what's going on and how do we like,
yes. So and does it really matter? Is that just all mass distraction? It's already playing out. And so, yeah, what can you focus on? So that makes tons of sense to me. So, and the rubber to the road, what are we doing about it? Right. Like we vote every time we consume something, right? So, all right, where did you want to go? Ricky Green saying it's been reported that the Mossad communication satellite was taken out. Carmen says, I live in Albuquerque. There's 4 sacred mountains in this state. Valerie Bolter says, but was Jerusalem built here in England's Green and Pleasant Land?
Oh, yes, right. We have that story as well. Okay, so
I don't know where you want to go, and I'll just give you one more. Is it true that the elites added 1,000 years to our history? For example, year 850. I've never heard this. Year 850, they added a 1 to 1850.
Okay, interesting to that question. They're showing me a sliding scale. So they're going like, oh, the numbers have been moved around so much. They're going, it's like, add 1,000, take it. It's like,
I always say, like, I don't know if there's been one number correct, especially in the last 3 years. What are the numbers? We've been so manipulated by numbers. Oh, the numbers are up, they're down. We're going to close this, open this.
Well, and it's even just such an interesting, like, how do you formulate the beginning of anything, right? It's all like an objective or a subjective reference point, right? It's like, so yeah, they've played with numbers, definitely. The numbers have been played with a lot. And that is very confusing, but it helps, instead of focusing on a number, to focus on a pattern. Okay. So like you can get, like there's patterns in nature, there's patterns in astronomy and astrology. There's the epochs, there's the precession of the equinoxes. So you can focus on these patterns that are universal. They're laws of nature, and not be as influenced by a number that's been attached to a particular point in that pattern. So the guys are saying, yeah, let's sort of, again, take back our own autonomy to decide for ourselves how we call those patterns, and not be told it's this number or that number or whatever, because that's according to someone's perspective and the narrative that they want to attach to that date, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Manipulated by it, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, so where do we go next? We were talking, or somebody was saying something about Albuquerque, New Mexico. I would love to look at that for a moment. Just because,
so that was Carmen.
That region.
Okay, yes, I hear it's magical. I've never been, but I was interested in going for sure. I live in Albuquerque. The mountains here are called Sandias. However, before the Spanish came here, the indigenous people named it Turtle Mountain, one of the 4 sacred mountains in this state.
Okay. So I just feel like when I heard the Albuquerque and that energy, it wants to be recognized. So let's have a look at that. Oh yeah.
Like, is the energy able to release now because it needed to shift and now it can release? That's just kind of
okay. So interesting, because I get Banff, Gaza, that's activating and healing. This one is not. I don't mean not as in it can't. I mean, it's going through a painful process right now. And I get a connection between those mountains in New Mexico and Egypt.
Interesting.
So very
Is it the
interesting.
opposite of the Earth thing you were talking
I don't
about?
know. I don't know where that is exactly. It would be interesting to look at, but it feels like there's something going on. I'm being even shown there's 3 mountains in New Mexico or in that region of the Southwest, and they're in kind of relationship with the 3 pyramids. So yeah, and that area is going through its growing pains, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, it could be very beautiful to send supportive energy there. Wow. Wow. It, pretty incredible. Like, this is a really big, it's almost like what I'm being shown with Gaza is like we're already in the phase of healing and clearing. This one is going into the work, basically. So, and then that means Egypt as well.
And like shadow work or
So,
like
yeah, and interesting, even the crises moving from Palestine and Israel over to Egypt. So I do feel like there's going to be like a shift of a lot of that focus and disruption moving towards Egypt. So it's not about bracing ourselves and being afraid. It's about like following the healing energy and the storyline, because a lot of the refugees that are leaving Palestine are going to Egypt. So we're looking at, again, it's sort of like when our bodies go through a healing process, one part of the body can be having a really big cathartic, clearing, healing crisis. And then once that is sort of resolved, another part of the body gets its turn to go through healing. So, yeah, that's what I'm sensing. And I feel like it was important that was brought forward, not so that we can be afraid, but so that we can send so much love and like, yeah, like sort of focus on the healing continuing in the Middle East, continuing to move over towards Egypt and heal and clear there. And somehow these areas in North America are in sympathetic alignment to those places. So we can do a lot of healing here locally to support what's going on over there, is what I'm hearing.
wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. But it's almost like we're in a time maybe because feel like because we're ascending, the frequencies are getting higher. We have to be cleansed. All of us, all of our stuff is coming up. And similarly, the earth, all the stuff that needs to come up is coming to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
To be seen,
Mm-hmm.
to be witnessed, to be healed, to renew, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because the reading started off today was the strong message that we often look at these things like we do with our physical bodies. When there's a breakdown, when there's something wrong, we often say, oh no, this is really bad. Like,
Yeah.
and it's almost like the guides are saying when we get to that point, it's actually very good because moving it's clearing, it's healing. So it's almost like, and that's where suppressing illness, suppressing wildfire, suppressing,
Hey. Yep.
Earth's expressions is in a way halting the healing process. So if we stop looking at it as being a terrifying punishment that something's wrong and look at all of these things as something is healing, something's growing, something's evolving, it's maturing, you can then support that and not rail against it and push it away.
Suppressing anger, suppressing guilt, suppressing one another, suppressing a cough, any of those things. And that's what homeopathy is like, just gives you a little more of what you already have, and then your body pushes through it. And so the whole thing, when you look at all that is that. And sometimes oftentimes you get the right homeopathic remedy, you do get worse before you get better.
Mm-hmm.
And at
Mm-hmm.
the very end, which is interesting, it's called the Herring Law of Cure, which means it starts from the inside out. And so the last thing is everything comes through the skin, which reminds me of the earth. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting.
That's the
Yeah.
very, very last. It gets released through the skin.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's healing, right? There's no way else to prove,
That
right?
is healing.
And
And
so we know when you suppress a child's asthma, and they know when you suppress a child's asthma, they're gonna end up with eczema for the rest of their lives, right? Or
mm-hmm.
cortisol. No, actually the opposite. So if you have a skin rash, a child has eczema, they put cortisol on it. So the skin rash will go away and it drives it into a bigger organ, the lungs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yes.
when you think about all that suppression, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Just
That's
a
right.
band-aid, just a band-aid. Aloha from Hawaii.
Aloha from
Pattern beautiful. B says a
yeah.
pattern beautiful. Chris wants to talk about gas prices are better, food prices seem to be better. Yeah, economically things are improving, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then Gordon Ho says, I don't grow enough to get myself through year round. Yeah, I get it. I'm in Canada. We're in Canada. But I do have days where I only eat from my garden. It's wonderful. So,
Okay, I'm going to go to that. I'm going to reflect on what Garden Host said for a minute, and I'm sure you do have a garden. Look at your look at your handle there. That's awesome.
Hey.
So because I want to just speak, yeah, I want to tune in and connect about this is one of the common things that people panic and they go, oh, I don't know how to grow food, or I don't have enough space to grow enough food to feed myself, or what am I going to do? I'm not, this isn't going to work. I can't engage in this. How do I get involved? Right. And I feel like it's almost that kind of thing where it's just like start anywhere and approach it with joy and enthusiasm and curiosity. It isn't about, everybody has to sit in their own little backyard and like produce enough food perfectly to feed themselves year round. It's about literally, I mean, even when we're talking about different parts of the world and how things go through cycles, and there may be an area that doesn't produce much food for a while, and either the people have to move around and go somewhere else, or they need to be supported during that time where the land is going through changes. And the same is what I'm intuiting and being shown around, like different people are going to be interested in growing different things. And all you really want to do is get good at a few things, produce enough to barter those things, and start with that. Because again, it's this feeling of, it's not just about we all have to do everything ourselves. It's about we get involved where we feel inspired, where we feel curious and, willing to play around. It's really more about enjoying the process, because it's also the food that is grown with, or whatever it is that's produced with that kind of frequency of, that was fun. I didn't realize I could grow an entire, whatever little shelter greenhouse area full of cherry tomatoes, and I got enough to feed the whole street or something, right? So it doesn't have to be this, you do it all. Again, like I said, if you start with one or two things that you like, and then it is a bug. It is a thing where you will probably get, oh, now I want to try that, or expand my repertoire, or figure out how I can work with the products that I have, and then get together with other gardeners, sharing, trading,
Food towers are a thing here, just growing sprouts, tons and tons of nutrition, just in sprouts and all of that, and lots of people going back to canning and whatnot.
Oh my gosh. And thank you, Garden Host. Start with easy things like beans. And then it's like never before. If you're watching this, you have access to the internet. Honestly, you could probably find about 5,000 different ways to grow beans right now. Like if you could just put up, just search growing beans, and you'll probably get like you can grow them on top of your roof in like, I don't know, a plastic bag or something, right?
Yep.
It's like, it's all possible now. And we've got, it's just a plethora of information. And it's
using these tools
it's
to
kind
our
of
advantage.
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Val Dawn says, food is what woke me up over a decade ago once I figured out they were poisoning our food on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I'm afraid of what to eat and the confusion around what to eat and whatnot. But yeah, absolutely. Okay, how are we doing for time? I was going to say.
We've got 10 more minutes. So
I have a question I don't know, and I think I've covered most of what's here outside of the economy. Like I'm thinking that it's going to get better.
Let's quickly look at that because
I
haven't had a different experience around
good.
It's like, oh no, I don't know about it's getting better.
I have a question though. Here's the thing. So I don't know what you want to do with this, but the question I had is that people are talking about this divides, forever there's been this conquer and divide. And I feel like personally, in my experience, I'm feeling like people are coming back together in another way, but a divide in a way that it seems to be different parallels. And so when you're looking at the new earth, there was an idea that the whole earth was going to just break off, and one was going to go one way and one was going to go the other way. And then and I had a past life regression when someone said that is the worst case scenario. That's not what we're looking at anymore. So it's super interesting, but people are feeling or experiencing a divide in that it's like, oh, I was really close to my family, but we're so different now that I see them off this way and I'm going off this way, looking at more soul families, get more of the lighthearted and optimistic and hopeful and creative and aware, self-aware, and then the not so self-aware. And there being quite a divide. So I don't know if you want to touch that, but I
feel like these questions are related. This and the economy and the prices of things, I feel like they're related. Let's look.
Okay, that's cool. I was going to say, I remember there was an interview with Dolores Cannon, and then the guy says, I mean, this was years ago. I mean, I think about 20 years ago. And he's like, but the recession. And she said, what recession? She said, my business is booming. I don't know what you're talking about. And it was almost like he's looking at her like, so you do know, right? And she's like, no, I actually don't. It wasn't part of her paradigm, right?
Whoa! Oh my gosh. 3 number 5s. Okay, this will be interesting.
Okay. 5s are temporary, correct? That's kind of
5s are temporary, but they're also the chaos of change. So going through a big change. Oh, there's that 10 of Cups again. Happy ever after.
Oh, that's good.
9 of Wands. All right, I'm going to interpret this. So we've got 3 5s. We're the 5 of Wands, which is it's creative chaos. It's like we're down in the trenches kind of battling it out right now within ourselves. Like this is getting harder and harder. The squeeze financially is getting harder and harder. And it's very easy to kind of feel defeated. And just, this is where, when you're talking about the divide, some people will be like, I can't do this. Just, where do I sign up? Put me in the, in the smart city and feed me whatever you want to feed me. Because I can't figure my way out of this pretzel. Like, so, the going gets tough, the tough get going.
And as well as whatever they want to feed us, like feed us a lot of shit constantly. And then, right?
So, and in a way, we've already been in a kind of smart city, locked in urban, all of it, becoming more and more dependent on the state, on food that comes from who knows where, packaged in who knows what, and all that sort of stuff. So basically, we've already been quite directed down this avenue, and it's the pressure that we're under now that a lot of us are like, no, not going further that way. Whatever it takes, I'm going to fight my way out of that.
Because I'll tell you what, the more people I talk to about, hey, so what if there was, it was sort of happen again? And what if we were to lock down? And they'd be like, no, not this time. Not this time. I wouldn't do it. I'm
Yeah,
not doing it.
that's
So
it.
many more are like, mm-mm.
So it's actually going through this challenging, and I'm hearing the total number of a 5-year period. So we're already 4 years into it, another year to, we're going to empower ourselves to create the stepping stones out of this. And some people, which has always been part of the, I want to say the blueprint or the original design, was that some people came here to not make that choice. They came here to say, sign me up, put me in the smart city. I'm like, look after me. They're going to have whatever experience they have to have from making that choice. It's not a good, bad, right, wrong. It's just different than a lot of us. A lot of us are going to say, it's the initiative, the incentive is so strong now, and we're going to literally create step by step. So they're showing stepping stones. And interesting, today, this piece around food came up as a major bridge building stepping stone that's going to create links between communities, because there again, you have areas where certain things grow very well and other areas where other things grow very well. So if you live in a region and you get in touch with what grows in your region, I mean, some things grow just about anywhere.
Yep.
Those are a lot of the easy things, a lot of things we can grow indoors. But if you get around, okay, there's also some specialty items that grow very well in a particular region. And then you're going to start networking between regions. And a lot of this is going to be around like-minded people who are also saying, you know what, it's a bit of a hassle to not just be able to drive to the grocery store, right? Or go to Costco or whatever and get your big bulk order for the month and drop a big pile of money. It's a lot more trouble to go out and visit local farmers, to form buying clubs between different regions and travel and barter and exchange stuff. Yeah, that's a lot of work. But you know what? It's also a lot of fun.
Hey,
It's also
yeah.
a lot of fun. And what else are we going to be doing?
The word of feeling good.
Yeah.
And being sovereign.
And so look at this, because it's actually the path out is the path to more than just economic freedom. It's the path to emotional freedom.
Oh, wow.
It's the path to find ourselves back in meaningful connection and relationships. So we think we're being hard done by all of these pressures, but spirit is actually pushing those of us that have the strength to find new pathways. And those pathways are going to give us a lot more than just food on our table.
Pathways back to one another and to being together. So that is the divide that it seems like some will choose this, and it's getting more evident.
It's getting more
mind.
evident.
Is that sort of the new earth is going one way, and then not ready for the new earth is going the other way? And will that divide get bigger? Will that sort of, because if I look at, say, the addicted or the takers or the sociopaths, you look at people hooked on pharmaceuticals and the medical CABAL, right? Like steeped in the medical and like, so that sort of that paradigm. But if you're not living in that paradigm anymore, does that eventually just?
Yeah, it's interesting, because what I'm hearing, and what a great note to leave off on, is leave all of those questions in the hands of God, because we just never know. You just never know. Somebody who looks like they're absolutely hook, line, and sinker that going that way, like there's no, you just never know. At the last minute, they could do a turnabout. And so we don't want to condemn these people. We don't want to limit them and be like, okay, they're a lost cause. Like, we don't want to abandon them.
Yeah.
Or just
at least it's almost the least of us. We don't get to decide.
We want to leave a wide enough berth that we're not constantly being hurt or attacked or at risk from being pulled down by those people. But leave it. Also, don't make an assumption that, you know, they don't deserve to be here, or that they're lesser human beings, because you just never know.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
just
only God knows that.
unconscious, right? Yeah. Yes. And maybe we're getting some massive God shots at the same time that are
Exactly. Massive God shots. I love that.
you know, like never before, right? So that's
Totally.
so amazing. It says leaving
Totally.
no longer resonates, and I'm grateful to live off grid, hunt, fish, garden, and forage. So amazing.
So lovely to share with you all. Look forward to seeing you next week. Sue's not able to join us next week, but I'm going to see if I can round up another guest to have a special one-off, and then we'll be back with Sue the following week. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Blessings. Bye for now.
Much love, everybody.